I should point out that it is already about 5:18 in the morning here, Beirut time, and here in the region they've been bracing for some sort of U.S. military action really all week long, and tonight it's been delivered. U.S. precision airstrikes over Syria, some landing just about 90 miles from where we are in Beirut, over Syria just a short time ago. These are images coming in right now of British jets taking off from Cyprus. The president addressing the nation shortly after 9 p.m. Eastern, telling the country that these precision strikes were underway aimed at chemical weapons capabilities in Syria, also informing the American people that we were doing this in concert with our allies, the UK and France. We know that Theresa May, the Prime Minister of Britain this week, saying something needed to be done. French President Emmanuel Macron among the first to come out and say this was absolutely a chemical attack. He said chlorine at the very least. The Defense Department in our country asked just a short time ago about what kinds of chemicals were used. But as you can see, these are the images coming in right now of some of this effort that was underway around 9 p.m. Eastern. Defense Secretary James Mattis just a short time ago saying this wave is now complete. They don't anticipate any secondary wave, at least not yet. We also know just a short time ago that there were initial response from Syria that there was some surface-to-air activity, though they could not confirm how many Tomahawk missiles they tried to reach the Syrian forces on the ground. We have team coverage tonight standing by, but first, President Trump addressing the nation, informing the American people that U.S. strikes had been launched against Syria after that chemical attack just days ago.
My fellow Americans, a short time ago, I ordered the United States Armed Forces to launch precision strikes on targets associated with the chemical weapons capabilities of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. A combined operation with the armed forces of France and the United Kingdom is now underway. We thank them both. Tonight, I want to speak with you about why we have taken this action. 1 year ago, Assad launched a savage chemical weapons attack against his own innocent people. The United States responded with 58 missile strikes that destroyed 20% of the Syrian Air Force. Last Saturday, the Assad regime again deployed chemical weapons to slaughter innocent civilians, this time in the town of Douma, near the Syrian capital of Damascus. This massacre was a significant escalation in a pattern of chemical weapons use by that very terrible regime. The evil and the despicable attack left mothers and fathers, infants and children thrashing in pain and gasping for air. These are not the actions of a man. They are crimes of a monster instead. Following the horrors of World War I a century ago, civilized nations joined together to ban chemical warfare. Chemical weapons are uniquely dangerous, not only because they inflict gruesome suffering, but because even small amounts can unleash widespread devastation. The purpose of our actions tonight is to establish a strong deterrent against the production, spread, and use of chemical weapons. Establishing this deterrent is a vital national security interest of the United States. The combined American, British, and French response to these atrocities will integrate all instruments of our national power, military, economic, and diplomatic.
You heard the president there addressing the American people shortly after 9 p.m. Eastern, talking about what we witnessed in Syria in recent days, the chemical attack there being the crimes of a monster, referring to President Bashar al-Assad in Syria, talking about the mothers, the children that we saw in those images, really seen all over the world gasping for air. I want to bring in our senior White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega. She's been monitoring developments all week long at the White House, and I know early on, Cecilia, the president had tweeted about new missiles coming, smart, shiny new missiles, and to be ready. He took some heat from those who said he was telegraphing what the U.S. would do long before they did it, but then worked with allies throughout the week, the UK and France, and with his own defense secretary, it appears, to come up with the plan that they unleashed tonight.
And from the White House, David, tonight they are saying this is a very clear warning to Syria, to Assad, and to Russia. You heard the president tonight say who wants to be associated with a mass murderer of women, men, and children. In some ways, this was a delayed decision. The president had signaled that it might come earlier in the week, 24 to 48 hours. He first announced early on this week. There have been reports that perhaps there was some delay because he wanted a tougher response to Russia and to Syria from his own military advisors. As you mentioned, he'd been criticized roundly for broadcasting what he would do, something he said he would never do. But in the end, David, it was those images, those horrific images of those children that were told by aides here at the White House that moved this president to act.
And a really important point there, Cecilia. As Cecilia pointed out, the president taking on both Russia and Iran tonight, two countries that have propped up this Assad regime. And in particular, he pointed out Vladimir Putin, saying he failed to keep a promise. He was essentially supposed to guarantee that these chemical weapons would not be used again. I want to bring in our chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, who's been tracking this with us tonight as this has been unfolding. And Martha, I was struck by the defense secretary, James Mattis, saying a short time ago that they did not learn their lesson a year ago when the U.S. struck Syria with a very targeted strike 1 year ago. 1 year later, something very different unfolding here tonight.
Yes, David. One surprise from that briefing, however, is that they only hit 3 targets in the chemical weapons infrastructure. You heard the president talk about that chemical weapons capability. General Mattis said it was, Secretary Mattis said it was chemical weapons infrastructure. 3 targets. We'll explain those in a little while. But he also said this is a one-shot deal, one time only. We know they've said this could be sustained if they have any more chemical attacks. But for tonight, it's over. And unless Assad uses more weapons, they won't attack him again.
And we are looking at images coming in, Martha, right now of some of the anti-aircraft fire that we saw over Damascus during this operation. As you heard Martha say there, the defense secretary revealing a short time ago that those 3 targets, General Dunford also joining him, talking about a target in Damascus where chemical and biological facility was used west of Homs, a sarin facility, and then a chemical weapons equipment facility, though they would not offer any more specific information about the location, they said, for safety reasons. But as Martha points out tonight, 3 very specific locations aimed at the chemical weapons capabilities of Syria. And again, the defense secretary saying they have not learned their lesson a year ago. This was aimed at Assad and his murderous lieutenants.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.